Choreographer Criscilla Anderson, known for her vibrant spirit, her seemingly endless reservoir of energy, and a dance career that intertwined her life with some of the world's biggest entertainers, has died from colon cancer at the age of 45. Those who knew her, whether intimately or from afar through her work, would tell you that Criscilla was more than just a dancer. She was a gravitational force, a woman whose presence lit up any room, any rehearsal, any stage, and any life she encountered. Her passing is not simply the loss of a performer. It is the dimming of a light that burned uniquely bright, the silencing of a rhythm that once guided her through life with remarkable fearlessness. News of her death reverberated quickly across social media and through the entertainment industry, but the most heartbreaking and personal confirmation came from her close friend and photographer, Lindsay, who took to Instagram on Wednesday, December 3rd, to share the devastating truth. Lindsay's words were filled with raw vulnerability, the kind that only arises from a loss that feels both personal and cosmic. "My heart is shattered to share this," she wrote under a collection of photos that captured the many sides of Criscilla, laughing, dancing, loving, and fighting with a strength most people never have to summon. "I promised Criscilla I would walk this journey with her whenever she couldn't stand on her own 2 feet. And I pray she knows how fiercely she was loved. Being by her side until the very end was the greatest honor of my life." Those words were more than a tribute. They were a glimpse into the intimacy of friendship, the kind forged not in convenient moments but in the darkest, most fragile spaces of human experience. Criscilla's story, though marked by extraordinary accomplishments, was also defined by resilience, a resilience that began long before her diagnosis. She wasn't just a dancer. She was a choreographer, a creative visionary, a woman who understood music not just as sound but as an emotional language. Her feet were her instrument, her body the vessel for expression. She spent her career performing with artists like Britney Spears, Rihanna, Snoop Dogg, and Katy Perry, names so large that they often overshadow the artists behind the scenes, who help sculpt the visuals that bring concerts and performances to life. But Criscilla never cared about overshadowing or being overshadowed. She cared about the work, the craft, the synergy between movement and meaning. In every rehearsal room, she was the woman who brought joy, clarity, and direction. She knew how to command a space without being overbearing, how to inspire without lecturing, and how to uplift those around her even on days when she herself was exhausted or hurting. Her presence extended beyond the dance world when she starred in the 2020 Netflix reality series, Country Ever After, which followed her life with her then-husband, Texas country singer Coffey Anderson. The show introduced viewers to a different side of Criscilla, the mother, the wife, the woman navigating love, career, and the frightening uncertainty of a cancer diagnosis. Many who watched the show would later say that they felt as though they knew her, even if they had never met her, because she was so open about her struggles and so determined to keep moving even when her body felt like it was giving way. She welcomed cameras into the rawest parts of her life, not to be admired, not to be pitied, but because she genuinely believed that vulnerability could help others. She believed that someone, somewhere, might see her story and feel less alone. Her battle with cancer began in 2018, when she received the diagnosis no one ever expects to hear: stage 4 colon cancer, a diagnosis that immediately shifts the ground beneath your feet, one that comes with odds, statistics, and survival rates that feel too cold and too small to encompass the fullness of a human life. Doctors initially told her she might have 2 years to live. 2 years. How does anyone truly process something like that? Yet Criscilla walked into the storm with the same courage she brought to every rehearsal, every performance, every challenge life ever threw at her. She didn't crumble. She didn't allow fear to define her. Instead, she fought fiercely, relentlessly, and with a grace that almost seemed supernatural. In those first 2 years, she underwent grueling treatments, chemotherapy, tests, hospital visits, fatigue that settled into her bones. Moments of hope followed by crushing disappointments, and days where simply getting out of bed was an act of bravery. But something remarkable happened. Against the odds, Criscilla went into remission. In 2021, she was declared cancer-free, and for a moment, life tasted sweet and light again. She embraced her children with renewed joy, danced again without the weight of fear pressing into her body, and felt, perhaps for the first time in years, the possibility of a long future. But cancer can be cruel, and in 2022, the disease returned, this time spreading to her lymph nodes. It was a moment that tested her faith and her resilience in ways no one could fully understand but her. Still, she did what she always did. She kept fighting. She documented her journey not as an attempt to be strong all the time, but as a way to show the world that strength and vulnerability often live in the same body. She admitted to her fears, her frustrations, her exhaustion, but she also showed hope, gratitude, and the deep love she had for her children, her family, and the life she refused to give up on. In a November 15 Instagram post, just weeks before her passing, Criscilla revealed something she had previously kept more private, that her initial prognosis, 7 years earlier, had given her a life expectancy of just 2 years. Yet she had lived 7 years of watching her children grow, 7 years of laughter, tears, dance, joy, pain, and everything that makes a human life meaningful. 7 years of defying the odds with a mixture of stubbornness, prayer, and grit. She wasn't supposed to make it this far, and yet she did. Not because the numbers were wrong, but because her spirit simply refused to abide by them. Family. For Criscilla was everything. She shared 3 beautiful children with Coffey Anderson, whom she married in 2009. Their firstborn son, Ethan, arrived with the quiet weight of a miracle, marking the beginning of a new chapter in Criscilla's life. Then came daughters Emery and Everla, each with their own light and personality, each expanding her world in ways she never expected. She was also a stepmother to Savannah, Coffey's daughter from a previous marriage, and she embraced that role with the same love and devotion she poured into everything she touched. Her children were her heartbeat, her driving force, her anchor when the treatments were too much and the nights too long. She often said that motherhood was her favorite choreography, the one dance she wanted to perfect. Even though she knew perfection wasn't possible, what mattered was being present, being loving, being the mother they needed even on days when her body was betraying her. To understand the pain of her loss, one must understand the fullness of the life she lived. She was not simply a woman fighting cancer. She was a woman who loved deeply and loudly, who laughed with her whole body, who danced like music was stitched into her bones. She was goofy, playful, fiercely loyal, and famously stubborn in the best ways. She was a protector, a nurturer, a woman who looked her children in the eye even in her weakest moments and whispered promises she intended to keep for as long as she could. Her death leaves behind an emptiness, not just for her family, but for the many people she touched without ever knowing it. When someone like Criscilla enters the world, they leave a specific kind of imprint on it, one that cannot be replicated or erased. She inspired young dancers who looked up to her choreography videos online. She comforted strangers battling cancer who found hope in her transparency. She uplifted friends and colleagues with her unwavering optimism, even in moments when she herself was hurting. Those who worked with her often described her as the kind of person who made everyone feel seen. Whether you were a world-famous singer, a backup dancer learning new choreography, or a young student stepping into a dance studio for the first time, Criscilla treated you with the same warmth and respect. She believed deeply in the idea that every person had inherent worth, and she refused to be part of an industry that sometimes forgets that. Her presence was grounding, her talent was undeniable, and her heart was the kind that made even the darkest days bearable for those around her.